Right guys, so today we're going to looking at the growth cycle of grass. So the grass plant goes through 3 stages of growth after germination, and they are vegetative stage, the elongation stage, and the reproductive phase. So what is germination first of all? So germination, put simply, is the growth cycle of a plant. What are the 3 conditions that are needed for germination? I always remember them as TOM. So we have temperature, 2, oxygen, and 3, moisture. In our vegetative stage, our leaves develop. In our elongation stage, our stem develops. And in our reproductive phase, our seed head develops. So we're going to go into these in a small bit more detail now, but that is a quick summary there of just the 3 different growth cycles that occur in grass. So from this diagram here, we can see that grass going through our vegetative stage, our elongation stage, and our reproductive stage. So just a little pointer here, we're going looking at our fibrous roots in our grass. Okay, so our fibrous roots is what the type of roots grass has, and they're going to be very good for binding the soil together, improving our soil structure. So as we mentioned, the vegetative stage is our first stage of our grass growth cycle, and what develops in our vegetative stage is our leaves, and they're going to develop on the grass plant, and the stem remains compact near the base of the plant, okay, providing support for the leaves. Here the plant is going to form tillers. Now tillers is a key term that you need to know. So tillers form, or what are tillers? Tillers are side shoots that grow out of the main leaf of your grass plant. So just even to note, tillering is the growth of side shoots in a grass plant. So if tillering is very important for a grass plant, how can farmers encourage it? So one way we can encourage tillering is by frequent grazing, by not letting the grass enter the elongation and reproductive phase. So frequent grazing of our paddocks, of our fields. Another way we can prevent our grass entering into those latter stages is by topping, okay, by cutting our grass down to our 5 centimeters above the ground. That's reducing the instance that seed heads are going to form in our grass. That's going to encourage fibre and also reduce the introduction of weeds into our paddocks, into our fields. And lastly, another way of encouraging tilling is by mowing. Okay, so by mowing a field maybe once, twice a year for hay, silage, is also going to encourage our grass to tiller, to stay in our vegetative stage and not enter into our elongation or our reproductive phase, where the grass is going to be predominantly more fibre and less carbs and protein. So the number of leaves on a plant is going to remain constant as old leaves are being replaced by new leaves. Okay, so that is very important here. So hopefully from this diagram here, you can see that our grass plant is growing up with 1 leaf, and as the tillering starts, side shoots are going to form, or tillers are going to form, making the grass more productive, making it that your cattle and sheep are going to have higher live weight gains. So that is our vegetative stage. Again, nice little diagram here showing your fibrous roots in your grass plant that's binding your soil together, improving your soil structure. And here is very evident that our grass starts off growing with 1 leaf, and our side shoots developing, known as tillers. Here is our second stage of our grass growth cycle, and we have entered into the elongation stage. So our elongation stage, as we mentioned earlier, is where our stem is going to develop, and our stem is going to lengthen between the upper nodes. Okay, so as we can see here, from our first to our second node, we have a small distance. As we go to our third and fourth, the distance is increasing. And lastly, as we go to our fourth, fifth, sixth node, the the distance between them is still increasing. We know that a plant has finished its elongation stage when the seed head develops. Okay, so when the seed head develops or emerges from the top of the leaf sheath of the plant, we know we've left our elongation stage and moved into our reproductive stage. So you can see here at the top, our seed head has developed. Another point to note here is, when we'll be talking about maybe hay or silage in further videos, is our heading out date. So our heading out date is when half the crop or grass plant has produced a seed head. And that is when the crop hits its heading out date, that is when you know it is time to cut your crop, whether you're making silage, whether you're making hay, whether you're making haylage. And lastly, we've moved on to our final stage of our grass growth cycle, which is the reproductive stage. And here in our reproductive stage, our seed head is developing. Okay, our stem that grew during the elongation stage is going to be very fibrous, and that is what's going to support the seed head. So the fibrous nature of the stem is going to support the seed head. It's going to disperse its seeds by using wind pollination. Okay, so we have different types of pollination, which we're going to run through now. So we have wind being one. Our second one is going to be water. So that example there would be your water lily. 3 could be your animal. For an example, a fox picking up different seeds from plants, moving them to different parts of the field, or maybe even to different paddocks. And then lastly is going to be self. So your example for self is going to be peas. So just a quick summary there of the 3 different stages of your grass growth cycle: your vegetative stage, your elongation stage, and your reproductive stage. So your reproductive stage is where your leaves are developing, your plant is producing tillers, and we have high levels of carbohydrates and low levels of fibre. In our elongation stage, our stem is developing, and we know that we have finished our elongation stage where the seed head starts to develop or starts to emerge. In our reproductive stage, our seed head fully develops, our stem is really fibrous and strong that supports the seed head to carry out the wind pollination. However, we are going to have low levels of carbohydrates and high levels of fibre, which is going to make... And this is just an example of a question that came up in the mock there. So hopefully after watching this video, you'll be able to attempt this question, describing the different features of the vegetative and reproductive stage and drawing an accompanying diagram for each.